What So I'm basically reaching out because I offer working capital to small business owners, and so I just came to Covington about a year ago from Ohio, and wanting to build up my connections here, throughout the state of Georgia, and
Yep,
just reaching out to see, well, to talk to small business owners, and of course, you work with small business owners, right?
I do.
What
Yep, I do.
So what? Who do you have like a niche, or who do you typically target?
Um, so, I mean, I do have I guess a solo owner that has a few employees,
Hmm.
doing $5 to $20 million a year.
Really? Wow.
Um, but yeah, I mean, I just came off of a pretty uh, large deal that fell apart. I had this client for about a year and a half and 2 years, I guess. So I'm in a somewhat of a rebuilding phase, kind of like Alabama. They lost last year, and so now they have to rebuild. So
Yeah.
you know,
so, di- so you have your what was he like one of your bigger clients that most of your revenue was coming from, or
yeah,
okay.
yeah. It was well, yes and no. It was a big client. So in 21, it represented a big chunk of revenue, and
Okay.
then in 22, I was building out a piece of software to capitalize on more revenue from this client, and then it all fell apart
Okay.
in March of this year.
Nice. Well, not
So that
nice.
was, yeah, no. Well, I mean, it presents a lot of challenges, but it's also, there's good in everything if you can learn from it.
Sure. But you guys been in
So,
business for what, 10 years or what?
yeah, yeah. So this is year number 10.
Congrats, man.
Yeah. So
How's
hopefully,
it been?
it's been great until this past year.
What do you think that was your biggest hurdle though, since being in business?
um.
Like this last year was the toughest year, or no?
Oh, by far. But I mean, look. I mean, I essentially just I made a big bet, and it just didn't. It busted,
We
you
do
know,
that.
and that's sometimes it's part of business,
Yeah.
So, yeah,
How'd
yeah.
you get into
It's
marketing?
so out of college. My first job out of college, 20 years ago, was I did ad sales for Comcast Spotlight,
And you went to
and
college for public relations,
public
right?
relations.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I have a degree in public relations and Spanish. I mean, I don't really use any of those things, but I have them. Um, so yeah, so I sold ads, cable ads, for 9, almost 10 years,
Okay.
and then I started in 13. I started White Hart. I had learned. Uh, Comcast accidentally hired a good trainer one year in 2011, and so just started digging into consumer behavior and like, you know what, I think I'd go on my own. So that's what I did.
And so, essentially, what is it that you guys do?
So the primary thing is we do branding. So the vast majority of clients I've worked with, whether they're a small business or an international business, they have a logo and they might have a what they call a brand book, but they have no direction on how to express that from an advertising perspective or creating marketing assets perspective. So what we do is we go in and we call it the brand compass. We take a company through our brand compass, and the first thing that comes out, the output is a brand manifesto.
Okay.
And so that is the language that articulates the uniqueness, the position of expertise, or whatever for that business. Then from that brand manifesto, we create the brand book with actual direction. With here's a logo, but here's the iconography. Here are the fonts. Here are the colors. This is how you actually use these to express out in creating your assets for marketing, and then we give them a marketing plan, strategic recommendation that they can either implement themselves, or for select clients, we'll do all of the graphic design and web builds and video production and all that stuff. So
Sure. And so, what what would you say the difference between building a brand and just marketing?
so marketing is the execution out into the public. Building a brand starts internally. So it's the same thing that you have in your head of who you are and who you want to be. That's the origins of a brand. Now, most people don't take the time to say, I've got this picture in my mind and I'm going to articulate it and write it down and then attach imagery to that. So that's brand building right there. The marketing is then taking that brand and creating all of the different assets for the public consumption to communicate with somebody outside of your own head, whether it be internal marketing for employees or external for the public.
So,
And then oh, go ahead.
I'm sorry. So, what you're saying is most companies don't think about building out the brand; they just go straight to marketing.
Correct, because that's easy. There are so many places, more than ever in the history of business, to put advertising and marketing.
And so, you help them with that as well.
Select clients, yes, yeah. So, uh, all the way through, like placing advertising buys, whether it be digital or TV, or creating out building up those campaigns. So, depending on the client, I will. But some once I also use this brand compass as like a discernment and figuring out if the client is going to be the right fit going forward.
Sure. And so, I guess what is your right fit? Like what company size, what industry?
So it's less about the size; it's more about the principles. If they have the mentality of wanting to do things from a more holistic and fundamental standpoint, I don't know if you went to my website, but it says no gimmicks, no magic tricks, no bullshit. So that's the qualifier right there. I mean, if you're looking to just run sales and try to fool people, and that's not what we're in for. Where we work with, it's more the owner or the principal's mindset of wanting to do things more holistically and sustainable, rather than just trying to, all
Make
right,
a
how
quick
can we
buck.
drive the latest greatest sale?
Yeah,
So
that makes sense.
that's it's more the mindset of the owner than it is the industry.
And so you said you were at Comcast.
I was, yeah. So Comcast Spotlight was the sales division, ad sales division. Now it's called Effective
Okay.
TV or something like that. So
And so what's the or what how did that train you for what you're doing now? And what's the difference? Is there a difference from that to now?
yeah, I don't know how much training that gave me, except that the guy that trained us that year, every year they do a sales training, and most of them sucked.
Yeah.
The reason I went out on my own is because, as an account executive at Comcast, I was just seen as the guy from Comcast.
Mm-hmm.
So if I was trying to articulate and educate a client saying, hey, we need to not put in your phone number in this video because nobody takes notes when they're watching TV, they're like, well, I just want to put this on TV. Why are you giving me trying to teach me about consumer behavior? And so, because I was in Comcast, I was very limited on how people saw me. So that's one of the reasons that I left. I wanted to be able to be more educational. So if I'm taking care of a client from a marketing firm perspective, they're looking at me to give advice on the whole picture of it, not just TV ad sales.
So they saw you almost as like customer service, and you wanted to be like their consultant almost.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's right.
And so,
That's right.
what about that last guy in that sales training? What was it that flipped that switch? for you, I guess.
Well, it's because he was talking more about consumer behavior rather than, hey, here's a tactic to work a CRM, or here's a better question to ask because you ask better questions and that will make you better at sales. I mean, that's true, but that's a very thin way to look at it. His approach was, there's a very distinct pattern by which we make every buying decision for any good or service.
Mm-hmm.
And if you understand that pattern and how that plays into all the different types of advertising and marketing, some of them are relational, like TV is a relational marketing platform. No one's writing your number down. No one's taking notes, but you can build a relationship with them if you are driving an emotional message to them. So it just came from a much different perspective of, this is how our brains are wired. This is how we should be creating all of these marketing assets. And so over the years, as I would be working with businesses, and they love to learn what I share with them, what I teach them. But still, one of the biggest hurdles is that you can have a business that's new or been in business for 30 years and all they have is a logo and they think that their brand is complete. And it's just not. You sit down with them and you start talking to them and they've got this much deeper story that is not being expressed at all. And by virtue of that, they're missing out on a ton of business and higher margins because the better relationships you have with your prospects, the less they're going to worry about price.
For sure, the value.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what the approach that he came from.
And so, in today's market, what I would tell you a quick, it's not a story, but what I noticed is like there's a lot of like construction companies or even like this, it's this one guy. I've watched multiple, like a 30-minute video of him cutting somebody's grass for free. Like he just knock up on
Yeah.
it, going through his neighborhood, go to the door, knock, hey, I want to cut your yard for free, and then he like, but you see the detail and you,
Oh yeah, I've seen the same guy. Yeah.
yeah, and so do you? I think every small business owner or business owner should have some form of content, even like just starting out with that, like just basically vlogging almost.
Oh, for 100%, absolutely
And
100%.
so, is that what you were talking about with like building, like the backstory where you were talking about earlier?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's definitely part of it because I mean, when we get to know each other, like you and I are doing now,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we're basically sizing each other up. Like, is this guy worth another conversation?
Sure.
Do we click?
Yeah,
I
is
mean,
there
you go to a
synergy?
party and that's what you're looking for, and you find someone like that dude was pretty awkward. I'm probably not going to talk to him again.
Yeah.
So how could your customers, your prospects or potential customers, make that decision without seeing you? Because what happens is that if they only see you when they're going to make the purchase, and they're going to Google whatever it is, or they're going to do some search, and you're going to come up on a list, maybe. And if you're on that list, they're going to look for someone they know, because that's just how we are as humans.
Yeah.
We walk into a room, or we walk into a restaurant, first thing we do is we scan it, because we're looking for something familiar.
I
Something we know.
never thought of that, but yeah, that's true. We're just looking
Yeah,
for
so from a
something
business
familiar.
perspective, if you're not, so about 95% of the time for a good or service, no one is ready to buy that. But that 5%, everybody chases that transaction. And if you're chasing that transaction and no one knows you, then you're going to be, it's going to boil down to price.
Yeah.
But everybody knows Apple, and everybody who buys that new iPhone for $1,200, they're not complaining.
Yeah.
So because that's Apple. That's who they identify with. So that's anyway. I can get pretty excited about this. Sorry about that.
You're
but
good.
but yeah. So that's the thing is that the vast majority of businesses just don't understand that, and so because they don't understand and they don't have this a solid articulated brand, then all their marketing sucks. and I'm actually recording episodes of a podcast, my buddy and I. It's called Bad Marketing Sucks.
Yeah, I
So,
seen that on your profile.
yeah, so, but it doesn't have to. Like, people who put phone numbers and websites on a billboard, when was the last time you ever heard of somebody pulling over on the side of the road to write something down? It just doesn't happen, but you can still use that to make emotional connections. So here's a useless trivia for you, but it's actually kind of important. So the part of our brain that processes everything is it's called Broca. So the concept is fooling Broca. If we see something that looks so similar to something else, that part of our brain says, I don't need to process this, and boom, it's gone. So within 72 hours, we scrubbed 92% of everything we take in. So to make it in that 8%, we have to be different. So we have to present it differently. So, and a lot of that is just not trying to do the formulaic stuff that people do.
Yeah.
It's to show up and, like I've been doing this busy working show. It's not overly produced, but it's legit. I mean, it's real. Just talking to people, and it's starting to get some good interaction from that. Like, I'll tell you, a company that I think does it brilliantly is Travelers Insurance.
Really?
Yeah. So their stuff, like, my kids will stop playing on the floor while I'm watching golf and watch one of their commercials. But they never talk about price or anything. It's about, like, I don't know if you've seen that commercial where the dad brings the daughter home and the daughter's crying and he wipes a tear as a baby. And then as a toddler, she trips, wipes a tear because she scraped her knee. Then as, riding a bike, then lost this first softball game. She goes off to college and he's wiping a tear off. And then the next scene is they're dancing at her wedding and she wipes a tear from his eye.
Wow.
I don't even think that there is a single word spoken until the end of it. And it's a brilliant creative. So that's the type of thing. It's like,
But why?
Well, because it's different. They're not trying to cram anything down. They're playing on that emotion of family. And I think the tagline was "You build the family, you build the home, we protect it," or something along those lines.
Wow.
But I mean, and where you place it is really important. So I'm watching golf. I'm a dad, and I see that's going to resonate with me.
Yeah.
And so because it was such emotionally charged, and not necessarily like sappy or sad, emotions can be funny. Like Budweiser used to be funny.
Yeah.
All the iconic campaigns they ran. So emotion is not just like the heartstring thing. It can be any emotion that you feel. But because that was so emotionally charged, man, I remember that. So if I'm ever in the market for switching insurances, they're top of mind because if I think, insurance, it's Travelers before Geico, before Nationwide, all that stuff.
And that's branding. That's branding. That's dope.
Yeah. So that's brand recognition that everybody's like, oh, you want to be top of mind. Well, you can say your phone number 40 times in a radio commercial, and that still doesn't make you top of mind.
Yeah.
It just means that they're going to forget that number. In 3 days, that's gone, or less than 3 days.
Yeah.
So anyway,
one of the big things here, like that I've noticed that I haven't seen when I came to Georgia, is like they're almost doing full songs that you can remember. But yeah, like Jay Anderson or something like that, a lawyer here or something like that.
Yeah. So, but there's just a lot of people out in the space, in the creative space, that get in it and they're looking for shortcuts like anything else in business. So I try not to take those shortcuts. Because what I want to do for a business that I work with is build something that if I only work with them for 6 months, they'll be using for the next 6 years.
Nice.
And I have clients that tell me years later, everything we do from a marketing perspective still starts with this brand book that the brand compass that you guys built for us. So I'm, and after that big client and all that disaster and losing my ass on, that deal, That's what I'm getting back to the basics, man. Right? That's that's what you do. So
Yeah.
yeah. So that's it in a nutshell.
And that, so what I'm kind of doing now is with these interviews, I'm building relationships, directly,
Yeah.
but
Hmm.
also, like later on down the line, I want to start using these interviews as content, because they help the person I'm interviewing out, but it also puts me in a like authority type role.
Oh
um,
yeah, yeah, absolutely.
um, and it's content, and so it kind of lets people know what I do, and then also shines a light on whoever I'm interviewing in that point. And it doesn't have to be like a hard sell, like, hey, do you need any money right now? It's just a
Yeah,
conversation.
exactly. So I've got a tool that I'm going to email you, um, because it would help out like insane, like really really good. So a buddy of mine built it. It's called InsightVoice.ai. And what you can do with it is you can record video. You log in, create your account, you record video, but then it will use AI. It'll use your video to create LinkedIn posts, Twitter posts, blog posts, emails, but from that video. So you can
Really,
go in and you can answer 2 or 3 questions a day, and it'll kick out
a bunch of
just,
content.
yeah, really good stuff.
Nice.
Really, really good stuff. So I'll send you that.
I'll check it out.
And but that will help you tremendously, because
Nice.
I've been using it, and my buddy, it removes part of the barrier of getting content out. It's one thing to like create a video. It's
Mm-hmm.
another thing to then
Chop it
create the
up.
copy for it,
Yeah.
and then so it really accelerates the getting it published side of things. So and I know from just myself and working with other small businesses, that's one of the hardest things is to get content out,
Yeah.
because there's always something else that needs to be done.
Yeah. Since talking, like, just talking to people, they always mention marketing and money. Those are the two biggest hurdles. Like, just need more
Yeah,
clients or more money.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. Well, and I've done all of the yeah I've done I'm just putting my head down at this point. It's just like, okay, let's get back to the basics. I've learned that there's been a couple of really large businesses I've worked with, and they're just as dumb as the small guy. I mean, if not dumber. I
Yeah.
mean, that last business I worked with in its industry, it is the largest in the world in its industry, and these people are dumb. Like how they got into the titles and where they're at is beyond me. They must have slept with somebody because they're idiots. I mean, blew me away. So, I mean, if they're dumb all the way up to the top, I'm just gonna stay with the small to medium guys. Forget the big ones.
Nice.
So yeah, that's where I'm at. But well, cool. Well, hey, listen, dude, I've got to run. I got a guy coming in
Sure.
just a second. But I'll zip you over that tool I was telling you about, and yeah, let me know if there's anything that I can do for you, and
And vice versa.
likewise,
Sure.
yeah. So I mean, we're right down the street from each other, so maybe we'll meet up soon.
Yes, sir. Thanks for taking out the time.
Yeah, brother. All right, see ya.
All right. Bye.